The sky above Earth changed in one single moment. It was a normal morning. People were going to work. Children were walking to school, and cities were full of life. Cars filled the streets, markets were open, and no one expected that their world was about to change forever. Then everything became dark. At first, people thought clouds were covering the sun. But when they looked up, fear entered their hearts. Huge black ships were floating above the planet. They were so large that they covered entire cities in shadow. The ships looked cold, silent, and impossible to destroy. No one had ever seen technology like this before. People stopped walking. Cars crashed into each other as drivers stared at the sky. Children cried while adults pulled out their phones and started recording. Social media exploded in seconds. News channels around the world switched to emergency broadcasts. "This is not a drill," one reporter said with a shaking voice. "Unknown objects have appeared above every major city on Earth." In New York, people ran through the streets in panic. In Tokyo, trains stopped moving. In London, crowds gathered outside government buildings, waiting for answers nobody had. Military bases across the world went on high alert. Jets were launched into the sky. Missile systems activated. Soldiers rushed into position. But when the fighter jets came close to the alien ships, something terrifying happened. Every jet suddenly shut down. Engines died, controls failed, and aircraft fell from the sky like stones. No explosions came from the alien ships, no visible attack, just silent power. Humanity understood one thing immediately. This enemy was far beyond them, inside government bunkers. World leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Fear filled every room. No one knew what to do. No one had prepared for this day. Then every screen on Earth turned black. Phones, televisions, computers, giant billboards. Even watches connected to the internet. All of them changed at the same time. A strange symbol appeared first. Glowing red like fire, then a face slowly appeared. It was tall, pale, and emotionless. Its eyes were dark and cold, like empty space. The alien leader stared directly into billions of human eyes. When it spoke, its voice was deep and calm. But that made it even more terrifying. "People of Earth," it said, "your species has been judged." The entire world listened in silence. "You are weak, divided, and technologically inferior. This planet now belongs to the Galactic Dominion," some people cried. Others stood frozen, unable to move. Then the alien leader continued, "You have one chance to survive. Surrender your governments, your military forces, and all planetary resources. Resist, and your civilization will end." A timer suddenly appeared below the alien face. 60:01 hour, that was all humanity had. Then the screen went dark again. Silence covered the world. No one moved for several seconds. Then panic truly began. Crowds filled streets. Banks were stormed. Stores were looted. Families rushed home, trying to stay together. Some prayed, some screamed, some simply stared into the sky with hopeless eyes. On military channels, arguments began immediately. Some generals wanted surrender. Others demanded retaliation, even if it meant destruction. World leaders shouted at each other through secure lines. "There is no way we can win," one leader said. "If we fight, billions will die, and if we surrender?" Another replied, "We lose everything anyway," far below the chaos. Inside a deep underground command center, one man remained silent. Captain Elias Kane stood in front of a large digital map of Earth. He was not the oldest officer in the room, nor the most famous, but unlike everyone else. He was calm, while others argued. He simply watched the timer count down. 55 minutes and 41 seconds. 55 to 40. 55 to 39. One officer turned to him, frustrated. "Captain, say something. What do we do?" The room became quiet. All eyes moved toward him. Kane finally looked away from the screen. His face showed no fear, only focus. He walked slowly toward the center table and placed both hands on it. "The aliens made one mistake," he said. The officers looked confused. "What mistake?" Someone asked. Kane looked up at the image of the alien ship hanging above Earth. "They believe humans think like other species," he answered. "They think fear creates surrender outside." Sirens continued screaming across the planet. The countdown kept moving. 53 to 12, 53 to 11, 53 to 10. One general shook his head. "You still want to fight?" Kane finally gave a small smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had already made his choice. "We were not built to surrender," he said. "We were built to survive." The room fell silent again. Above Earth, the alien ships waited patiently. Certain victory was already theirs. But somewhere deep underground, humanity had made its decision. And for the first time that day, the countdown was no longer only a threat. It had become the beginning of a war. The countdown did not stop. It moved forward without mercy. Every second felt heavier than the last above Earth. The alien ships remained perfectly still, like hunters waiting for weak prey to give up, inside their command vessel. The alien commander watched the planet with calm confidence. To them, this was already over. "Primitive species always choose survival," one officer said. "They will surrender before the timer ends." The commander did not reply. His cold eyes stayed fixed on the blue planet below, but something felt different. Earth was not reacting the way other worlds had. There was panic, yes, but there was also silence. No official surrender message, no global transmission asking for mercy. Only scattered signals, broken communications, and something else hidden beneath it. Preparation. Back on Earth, the chaos was still everywhere. But deep inside military bunkers, something had changed. The arguments had stopped. The fear was still there, but it had turned into focus. Captain Elias Kane stood in front of a group of officers. A new plan was already in motion. "We cannot match their power," he said. "So we don't try." The officers listened carefully. Some still looked unsure. Kane pointed at the map. "They expect a direct response, a surrender, or a desperate attack." He paused for a moment. "So we give them neither." Far above, the alien commander finally spoke. "Send a probe fleet," he ordered. "Test their defenses." Within seconds, several smaller alien ships separated from the main fleet. They moved smoothly toward Earth's atmosphere, fast, silent, unstoppable. People on the ground saw them descending like falling stars. Panic returned instantly. "They're attacking." Someone shouted in the streets. Families ran, cars sped away, sirens screamed louder. But then something strange happened. No explosions came, no buildings were destroyed. The alien ships simply hovered in the sky, scanning everything inside those ships. Alien operators studied human signals, weapons, and energy sources. "They are disorganized," one alien reported. "No unified defense, minimal threat detected," another added. The commander listened, then gave a simple order. "Proceed closer." The probe ships lowered further, now within range of human defense systems. But still, nothing happened. No missiles, no gunfire, no resistance. The aliens began to understand it as fear. "They are waiting to surrender," one officer said with certainty. Then, without warning, everything changed across the world. Hidden systems activated at the exact same moment, deep underground, sealed for years. Human weapons came online, not the biggest weapons, not the most powerful, but the most unexpected. Signals were sent through old satellites. Codes unlocked systems the aliens had ignored. And then, suddenly, the sky lit up from deserts. Mountains, oceans, and cities. Small bursts of energy shot upward, not aimed to destroy, but to confuse. Alien systems flickered, sensors glitched, navigation controls reacted slowly. "What is happening?" An alien operator asked before anyone could answer. The first probe ship stopped moving, its systems frozen for just 1 second. But 1 second was enough. From below, a hidden missile launched. Fast, precise, and perfectly timed, it hit the alien ship directly. The explosion shocked everyone watching. One alien ship destroyed, then another, and another. Humans were not attacking randomly, they were striking with perfect coordination. Every move planned, every shot calculated. On the alien command ship, silence filled the room. This was not expected. These are not panic actions, the commander said slowly. They were waiting. More probe ships tried to escape. But their systems were still unstable. Human attacks continued. Not powerful enough to destroy everything, but smart enough to win small battles. Within minutes, most of the probe fleet was gone. Destroyed by a species that was supposed to be weak. Back on Earth, people watched in disbelief. For the first time since the invasion began, hope appeared. Cheers started in some places. People hugged each other. They can be beaten, someone said. But inside the command center, Captain Kane did not celebrate. His eyes stayed on the screen. The countdown continued. 41 to 27, 41 to 26, 41 to 25. One officer smiled. "We did it," he said. "We stopped them." Kane shook his head slowly. "No," he replied. "We only got their attention, far above." The alien commander stood up from his seat. His expression had changed, no longer calm, no longer confident. Now there was something new in his eyes, interest. "Prepare the main fleet," he ordered. "This species will not surrender." He paused for a moment, then added, "They will be broken." The massive alien ships began to move for the first time slowly, but with unstoppable force. And on Earth, the brief moment of hope started to fade, because everyone understood one thing now: the real war had just begun. The sky did not stay silent for long. After the destruction of the probe fleet, the alien ships began to move, not slowly anymore, not carefully, but with purpose. Massive shadows shifted across continents as the main fleet spread out over Earth. This time, there was no testing. This was war inside the alien command ship. The commander stood tall. His voice was no longer calm. "Begin planetary suppression," he ordered. At once, the ships responded. Giant weapons powered up, glowing with cold light. And then the first strike came. A beam of energy fell from the sky and hit a distant mountain range. The ground shook violently. The entire area disappeared in seconds, not destroyed in fire, but erased. Across the world, more strikes followed. Cities were not targeted directly, instead, power grids, military bases, communication towers. The aliens were not angry, they were precise. They were cutting Earth apart piece by piece. Panic returned stronger than before. People ran again. Sirens screamed louder. Governments tried to speak, but signals failed. Humanity was losing control. Inside the underground command center, tension filled the air. Officers moved quickly, shouting orders. Screens flashed with warnings and red signals. "We're losing satellites," one operator said. "Power systems are going down across multiple regions," another added. Captain Elias Kane stood in the center. Watching everything, he did not raise his voice. He did not panic, he simply observed. "They're not trying to destroy us fast," he said quietly. "They're trying to weaken us first." A general looked at him with frustration. "And it's working," he replied. Kane nodded slightly. "Yes," he turned toward the main display. "Which means we still have time outside." Human forces began to respond. Jets launched again, even after the earlier failure. This time flying lower, using manual controls, avoiding advanced systems. Soldiers moved through ruined streets, setting up defenses. Missiles were fired toward the alien ships. Some hit, most did nothing. The alien shields absorbed the damage easily. In the sky, human pilots pushed their limits. Flying close, taking risks, one pilot managed to fire directly at a ship's weak point. For a moment, it looked like success. Then the ship released a pulse. The jet lost control instantly, falling into the ocean below. The war was not equal, not even close, but something strange began to appear in the battle. Humans were not fighting in one clear pattern. They attacked, then disappeared. They lost ground, then returned from unexpected directions. Small teams struck supply points, communication relays, and isolated ships. The aliens began to notice. They are not following combat logic, one alien officer reported. They retreat when they should fight, and attack when they should hide. The commander watched carefully. This is not weakness, he said. This is strategy. Back on Earth, Kane's plan was unfolding. He divided forces into small units, each with one purpose. Not to win the war, but to slow it. Confuse them, he told his officers. Make them react. Make them think we are everywhere and nowhere. Hours felt like minutes as battles continued across the planet. Humans lost cities, bases, and lives. But they gained something else: time. Every delay mattered. Every small victory changed something. Then suddenly, a new signal appeared on the main screen in the command center. Unknown, encrypted. One operator looked confused. This is not ours, he said. Kane stepped closer. Put it on screen. The signal opened slowly. Strange symbols appeared, then translated into human language. It was the alien commander, but this time, his message was different. Humans, the voice said. You continue to resist. This is illogical. You cannot win. The room stayed silent. Everyone watched. Then the message continued. Surrender now, and some of your species may survive. Kane looked at the screen. Then at the timer still running, 32 to 8, 32 to 7, 32 to 6. He stepped forward. For the first time, one officer whispered. They are asking again. Kane shook his head. No, he said. They are not asking. They are warning. He turned back to the team. And that means something is changing, outside. The alien attack slowed for a moment, not stopping, but adjusting. Like a predator studying new prey, Kane gave a new order. Prepare Phase 2. The officers looked at him. Some nervous, some ready. What is Phase 2? One asked. Kane's eyes stayed on the alien ships above. Now we stop reacting, he said. Now we start hunting. Far above Earth. The alien commander narrowed his eyes slightly. For the first time in countless invasions, he was no longer completely certain. And that small doubt was exactly what humanity needed. The war did not slow down, it changed, after hours of fighting. Both sides understood something important. This was not going to be a quick victory. The alien fleet still controlled the sky. Their power was overwhelming. Their ships moved like giants above the planet. Untouchable, unstoppable, but something new had begun. Humans were no longer just surviving, they were learning. Inside the underground command center, Captain Elias Kane stood in front of a new map. It looked different now. Not just red warning zones and destroyed cities, but patterns, movement, weak points. They are not perfect, Kane said. The officers listened closely. They are strong, he continued. But they rely too much on control. He pointed at several moving signals on the screen. These ships are connected. They share data, power balance, and targeting systems. One officer stepped forward. So if we break that connection... Kane nodded. They don't just lose power. They lose coordination. The room became silent. This was not about destroying ships anymore. This was about breaking the system behind them. Phase 2 begins now, Kane said, far above. The alien fleet adjusted its formation. After the strange human tactics, they were no longer careless. Ships moved in tighter groups, defenses increased. Scans became deeper, more aggressive. They are changing their behavior, one alien officer reported. The commander watched calmly. They are adapting, he said. Good. Now we will see their limits, back on Earth. Small human teams moved quietly through destroyed cities and hidden bases. These were not large armies, not powerful units, but precise ones. Each team had a mission, not to fight directly, but to disrupt. In one location, a team entered an abandoned satellite control station. Dust covered the equipment. Power was unstable. But one soldier connected a device to the system. Link established, he whispered. Across the planet, similar actions were happening. Old systems, forgotten networks, backup relays. Everything the aliens had ignored, everything they thought was useless. Humans were turning it into a weapon. In the sky, an alien ship suddenly paused. Its movement slowed. What is happening? An operator asked. Signal interference detected, another replied. But this was not normal interference. It was targeted, precise. Like someone was pulling invisible strings. Then another ship reported the same issue, and another on the main command vessel. The commander's expression hardened. This is coordinated, he said. They are attacking our network. Back in the command center, Kane watched the results. Now, he said quietly, from hidden locations. Human forces launched small attacks, not at full power, not to destroy, but to strike at the exact moment of weakness. One alien ship lost its balance in the sky for just a second. A missile hit its side, not enough to destroy it, but enough to damage a critical system. Another ship lost communication with the fleet, isolated, confused. Human jets moved in quickly, attacking together, then disappearing before retaliation. The pattern repeated, again and again, small damage. Small confusion, but growing. The alien fleet was still winning. But now, they were struggling to stay perfect. Inside one of the human strike teams, a young soldier looked at the sky. We're actually hurting them, he said quietly. His leader shook his head. Not enough, not yet, back above. The alien commander gave a new order. Lock all systems. Cut external signal access. Immediately, parts of the fleet isolated themselves. The network stabilized. Human interference became weaker. Kane saw it happen in real time. They're closing the door, one officer said. Kane nodded. Yes, which means they are afraid of what we might do next. He turned to the team. Good. Now we go deeper. One officer hesitated. Deeper? Kane's voice remained calm. We don't just attack their system, he said. We enter it. The room went silent. That's impossible, someone said. They're too advanced. Kane looked at the screen again, at the massive alien ships above Earth. They think we are too primitive to understand them, he said. That is their weakness. Far above. Inside the alien command ship, a warning signal suddenly appeared. Different from the others, stronger, more dangerous. Unknown access attempt. An operator reported. Origin? Human. The commander stepped forward slowly. His eyes focused. This was no longer a simple resistance. This was something else, something unexpected. Back in the human command center. The lights dimmed for a moment. Power shifted. Systems focused on one single operation. Kane placed his hand on the console. Start the breach, he said. Across the planet. Every hidden system, every signal, every line of code moved together for the first time in the war. Humans were not just fighting the aliens, they were reaching inside their world. And the moment that connection was made, everything began to change. The moment the breach began, everything became unstable. Not just in the alien fleet, but across Earth itself. Lights flickered in cities that still had power. Screens turned on and off without warning. Signals overlapped, distorted, and then focused into something new. A connection, not complete, not perfect, but real. Inside the underground command center. Every screen showed streams of data. Alien symbols mixed with human code. Fast, chaotic, almost impossible to follow. Connection is partial, one operator said. They're trying to block us. Captain Elias Kane stood still. Watching the flow. Hold it, he said calmly. Don't force it, above Earth. The alien command ship reacted instantly. Seal all internal systems, the commander ordered. Find the source. But this was no simple attack. The humans were not trying to destroy from outside. They were already inside, not fully, but enough to cause damage. One alien ship suddenly lost targeting control. Its weapons fired in the wrong direction. Another ship received false data. Seeing friendly units as enemies for just a second. Confusion spread like a crack through glass. Stabilize the network, an alien officer demanded, but the delay was already happening. Small, but growing back on Earth, Kane gave the next order. Send the signal from hidden systems around the world. A new transmission moved through the breach. Not a weapon, not a virus, but something far more dangerous, information. The signal carried human patterns, human unpredictability. Random, emotional, illogical movements. To the alien system, it made no sense. Their network was built on perfect logic. Perfect order, but humans were not perfect. And that was the problem, inside the alien command ship. Systems began to slow down, not failing, but hesitating. Why is it reacting like this? One operator asked. The commander watched carefully. They are not attacking our strength, he said slowly. They are attacking our thinking, back in the human command center. The pressure was rising. They're pushing us out, an operator warned. We're losing access. Kane stepped closer. How long? Minutes. Maybe less, Kane nodded. That's enough, outside. Human forces prepared for the next move. Jets waited in silence, missile systems locked targets. Ground teams stood ready, all waiting for one moment. One signal, inside the breach. The human code reached deeper, for just a few seconds. It touched something critical, the coordination layer of the alien fleet. A system that kept every ship moving as one. Then Kane gave the final command. Now, across the planet. Every human unit moved at the same time. Missiles launched, jets accelerated. Ground weapons fired, but this time it was different. The alien fleet did not respond instantly. There was a delay, small but real. One ship moved too late, another turned the wrong direction. A third failed to activate its shield for just a second. And that second was enough. Explosions filled the sky. Not massive victories, but clear damage. The first real damage to the main fleet. On the alien command ship, alarms filled the room. Multiple ships reporting failures. Loss of formation, loss of timing. The commander stood in silence. For the first time since the invasion began. They were not in full control. They are using chaos, he said quietly. One officer looked confused. Chaos is weakness, he replied. The commander shook his head slightly. No, for them. It is a weapon, back on Earth. People watched the sky again. Explosions, movement. Alien ships shifting out of position, for the first time. It did not look like one-sided destruction. It looked like a fight. Hope returned, but only for a moment. Because the alien fleet was not breaking, it was adjusting. Reconfigure all systems, the commander ordered. Remove dependency on shared coordination, one by one. The ships began to separate their connections, losing efficiency, but gaining independence. The human interference became weaker instantly. They're adapting, one operator in the command center said. Kane watched the screen carefully. Yes, he replied. And they're learning fast. The brief advantage was fading. The damage was real, but not enough to win, not yet. One officer looked at Kane. What now? Kane did not answer immediately. His eyes stayed on the alien command ship signal. The strongest one, the center of everything. If we cut the head, he said slowly, the body falls, The room became silent again. You mean? Kane nodded. The flagship, outside. The war continued, loud, chaotic, endless, but now everything was leading to one final direction. One target, one chance, and far above Earth. The alien commander looked down at the planet again, no longer seeing a weak species, but something far more dangerous. A species that refused to stop, and that refusal was becoming a threat. To be continued, the moment the breach began. Everything became unstable. Not just in the alien fleet, but across Earth itself. Lights flickered in cities that still had power. Screens turned on and off without warning. Signals overlapped, distorted, and then focused into something new. A connection, not complete, not perfect, but real. Inside the underground command center, every screen showed streams of data, alien symbols mixed with human code. Fast, chaotic, almost impossible to follow. Connection is partial, one operator said. They're trying to block us. Captain Elias Kane stood still. Watching the flow. Hold it, he said calmly. Don't force it. Above Earth, the alien command ship reacted instantly. Seal all internal systems, the commander ordered. Find the source. But this was no simple attack. The humans were not trying to destroy from outside. They were already inside, not fully, but enough to cause damage. One alien ship suddenly lost targeting control. Its weapons fired in the wrong direction. Another ship received false data. Seeing friendly units as enemies for just a second. Confusion spread like a crack through glass. Stabilize the network, an alien officer demanded, but the delay was already happening. Small, but growing back on Earth, Kane gave the next order. Send the signal from hidden systems around the world. A new transmission moved through the breach. Not a weapon, not a virus, but something far more dangerous, information. The signal carried human patterns, human unpredictability. Random, emotional, illogical movements. To the alien system, it made no sense. Their network was built on perfect logic. Perfect order, but humans were not perfect. And that was the problem, inside the alien command ship. Systems began to slow down, not failing, but hesitating. Why is it reacting like this? One operator asked. The commander watched carefully. They are not attacking our strength, he said slowly. They are attacking our thinking, back in the human command center. The pressure was rising. They're pushing us out, an operator warned. We're losing access. Kane stepped closer. How long? Minutes. Maybe less, Kane nodded. That's enough, outside. Human forces prepared for the next move. Jets waited in silence, missile systems locked targets. Ground teams stood ready, all waiting for one moment. One signal, inside the breach. The human code reached deeper, for just a few seconds. It touched something critical, the coordination layer of the alien fleet. A system that kept every ship moving as one. Then Kane gave the final command. Now, across the planet. Every human unit moved at the same time. Missiles launched, jets accelerated. Ground weapons fired, but this time it was different. The alien fleet did not respond instantly. There was a delay, small but real. One ship moved too late, another turned the wrong direction. A third failed to activate its shield for just a second. And that second was enough. Explosions filled the sky. Not massive victories, but clear damage. The first real damage to the main fleet. On the alien command ship, alarms filled the room. Multiple ships reporting failures. Loss of formation, loss of timing. The commander stood in silence. For the first time since the invasion began. They were not in full control. They are using chaos, he said quietly. One officer looked confused. Chaos is weakness, he replied. The commander shook his head slightly. No, for them. It is a weapon, back on Earth. People watched the sky again. Explosions, movement. Alien ships shifting out of position for the first time. It did not look like one-sided destruction. It looked like a fight. Hope returned, but only for a moment. Because the alien fleet was not breaking, it was adjusting. Reconfigure all systems, the commander ordered. Remove dependency on shared coordination, one by one. The ships began to separate their connections, losing efficiency, but gaining independence. The human interference became weaker instantly. "They're adapting," one operator in the command center said. Kane watched the screen carefully. "Yes," he replied. "And they're learning fast." The brief advantage was fading. The damage was real, but not enough to win, not yet. One officer looked at Kane. "What now?" Kane did not answer immediately. His eyes stayed on the alien command ship signal. "The strongest one, the center of everything. If we cut the head," he said slowly, "the body falls." The room became silent again. "You mean?" Kane nodded. "The flagship, outside." The war continued, loud, chaotic, endless, but now everything was leading to one final direction. One target, one chance, and far above Earth. The alien commander looked down at the planet again, no longer seeing a weak species, but something far more dangerous. A species that refused to stop, and that refusal was becoming a threat. The battlefield had changed again. Not in size, not in destruction, but in focus. Everything now pointed to one target, the alien flagship. It hovered above the planet like a dark crown, larger than all the others, stronger. Protected by layers of shields and surrounded by elite guard ships. It was not just another vessel, it was the mind of the invasion. Inside the underground command center, silence filled the room. Everyone understood the risk. "If we fail," one officer said quietly. The final moments of the war began in silence, not the silence of peace, but the silence before something irreversible, above Earth. The alien flagship stood like an unbreakable god, its shields glowing, its weapons ready, its systems recovering from the chaos humans had created. Around it, the remaining fleet tried to reform, trying to regain control, trying to restore order. But something had already changed. The humans were no longer reacting, they were deciding. Inside the last surviving human strike ships, warning lights filled every corner, hull damage critical, systems failing. Fuel almost gone, but still, they moved forward. Straight toward the heart of the alien flagship. "Distance?" the lead pilot asked. "Closing." "Barely," another voice replied, behind them. Alien guard ships were catching up fast. Weapons locking, energy building, one by one. More human ships were hit. Explosions burned in the dark space, until only one remained. The lead ship, damaged, shaking, but still alive, back on Earth. The entire command center stood in complete silence. No one spoke, no one moved, they only watched. The timer continued. 7:12, 7:11, 7:10. Time was almost gone. Captain Elias Kane stood still. Eyes locked on the screen. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Far above, inside the alien flagship, alarms began to sound. "Single human vessel approaching," an officer reported. "Intercept in progress." The alien commander watched the signal closely. "One ship, one final attempt. End it," he ordered, outside. Multiple alien ships fired at once. Beams of energy cut across space. The human ship shook violently. Systems failing one after another, inside the cockpit. The pilot held control with shaking hands. Breathing heavy, but focused, he looked at the massive structure ahead. The center of everything, the target. "Just a little closer," he whispered. Another hit. The ship nearly lost balance. But still, it moved inside the alien command room. Tension grew. "Why does it not stop?" one officer asked. The commander did not answer immediately. He simply watched, because now he understood. This was not strategy anymore. This was something deeper. Something beyond logic, back on Earth. One young operator whispered, "He's not going to make it." Kane finally spoke, "Yes, he will." Everyone looked at him. But Kane's eyes never left the screen. Because he understood something the others did not. The mission was never about survival. It was about reaching the target, no matter the cost, back in space. The human ship reached the outer layer of the flagship's defense. Alarms screamed inside the alien vessel. "Impact course confirmed," an officer shouted. "Shields holding," another replied. But then something unexpected happened. The human ship changed direction slightly, not random, precise, aiming for the exact point where the earlier damage and system delay had weakened the shield. "Impossible," one alien officer said. "They should not know that location." The commander's eyes widened slightly. "They learned," he said quietly. "They remembered." The human ship pushed forward one last time. All remaining power focused on one action. One strike inside the cockpit. The pilot smiled faintly. Not out of joy, but acceptance. "For Earth," he said softly. Then everything went white. The impact was not the largest explosion of the war, but it was the most important. A single point of failure, a single break in perfection. The flagship shield collapsed at that exact spot. Energy inside the ship destabilized instantly. Systems overloaded, signals broke. And for the first time, the alien fleet lost its center. Back in the command center, every screen flashed. "Flagship integrity failing," an operator shouted. "It's working," another said, above Earth. The massive ship began to lose control. Slowly at first, then faster, its systems no longer connected. Its commands no longer reaching the fleet. Inside, the alien commander stood in silence. No anger, no panic, only realization. "This is why they fight," he said quietly. Around him, officers tried to regain control. But it was too late. The chain had been broken outside. The fleet began to scatter, some ships retreating, others frozen without command. The invasion had lost its mind, and without it, it could not continue. Minutes later, the remaining alien ships pulled away from Earth. Not in victory, but in retreat, across the planet. People watched the sky as the shadows slowly disappeared. Silence returned, but this time it was different. It was not fear, it was survival back in the command center. No one cheered at first. They simply stood, trying to understand what had just happened. Kane closed his eyes for a moment, then looked at the empty space where the flagship signal once was. "They believed we would surrender," he said quietly. One officer nodded. "But we didn't." Kane shook his head slightly. "No, we couldn't." He looked around the room, at the tired, broken, but alive faces. "Because humans don't know how." Far away, in the silent depths of space, the remaining alien ships carried one message back to the galaxy, not about Earth's strength, not about its technology, but about its people. A species that could not be controlled. A species that could not be predicted. A species that would never stop, and from that day forward, the galaxy understood one simple truth. Humans do not win because they are the strongest. They win because they refuse to end.